The title of this DVD is called The Daily Vitamin. The idea behind it is do that one thing first thing in the morning that will help you through your entire day. Over the last couple years at Orange County Fire, we've pushed and promoted the movement prep through our academies, through some of our quarterly classes, and this is that next progression. We want to give you something that you can use on a daily basis, a tool that is in the station to help you feel better, move better, and perform better on a daily basis. You don't need a special area or a large space. It can be done in your average size day room. It's something that's accessible and something that everybody has access to. With these exercises, we do anywhere from 3 to 5 reps in this video, which is what we recommend. If for any reason you become overexerted, lightheaded, dizzy, stop and modify the workout. Maybe for you where you're at right now, you can only do 1 to 2 reps per exercise. That's where you're started. Doesn't mean that's where you're going to finish, but that is where you are right now. Go at your own pace. For some of you, this might be a complete workout. For others, it'll be your warm-up before your workout of the day. If nothing else, just like you take your vitamin to feel better and perform better and for your general overall health, that's what this Movement Prep DVD is about. The first stretch is going to be the hip hug. You start laying flat on your back with your feet straightened. What you'll do is you'll pull your knee to your chest, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, relax, and then pull it again. What you're trying to do is increase that range of motion in your hip. Key points here are to make sure that the down leg stays pointed towards the ceiling and that you keep it from externally rotating. Once you switch, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. In the case of Marty, he's got a more advanced method and he's extending his hip. So you'll see him pull his knee to his chest, and then with his down leg, he's digging his heel into the ground, extending his hip. The next stretch is the hip crossover. Here we have Marty doing more of an advanced movement and I'm doing the beginning movement. You want to start on your back with your hands out at your side, your feet stacked. It's more important to have the feet stacked than it is the knees, but then you're keeping your core tight and you're moving from side to side, making sure that you try to keep that shoulder on the ground. In the case of Marty, he has his elevated, keeping that core tight, and then moving his knees from side to side. These next 2 stretches will help with T-spine mobility. Again, we have Marty doing a more advanced stretch on the right side, and I'm doing the beginning. What you do first is lay on your back, take your top leg, cross it over your body, and keep it at a 90-degree angle while keeping your down leg straight. Once your arms are out at your side, you're putting your top hand behind you, trying to keep your shoulder on the ground, and then bringing it forward, stacking it on top of your forward hand that is already on the ground. Key piece here is to make sure that you take deep breaths to allow that T-spine mobility. Once you've completed one side, you go to the other side, and what you see here with Marty is he's going to take his down leg and grab it with his top arm, and then take his top leg and grab it with his bottom arm. Puts him in kind of a pretzel position, making sure that he pulls that bottom leg back, extending his hip, stretching the quad, and then the top leg pulling up, making sure that it stays at a 90-degree angle, and making sure that he breathes here. The key piece here is making sure that you breathe through the entire range of motion, whether you're doing the 90-90 or the 90-90 pretzel. Here we have the glute bridge. On the left, I'm doing the glute bridge with both legs on the ground, and Marty's doing the glute bridge single leg with the hip extension. Key points here, you're to start on your back, making sure your shoulders stay on the ground, and then driving through your hips, tightening your glutes. You want to push your knees together, trying to touch them, but not letting them fall or externally rotate. Once you do 3 to 5 reps of this, go ahead and switch. For the person that's using 2 legs, there really isn't a switch. In Marty's case, we're going to alternate the legs and do the reps individually. The next stretch is the quad stretch. What you're going to do is start in a lunge position, or some people may call it a split squat. Your front leg is going to stay at a 90-degree angle, and you're going to extend your hip. You may need to lean forward into that hip a little to get the stretch. On the left, I'm doing it without anything under my foot. Marty's doing it with a pad that elevates the foot and helps stretch the quad even better. When you switch, making sure that you keep that knee at a 90-degree angle is going to be key, along with pointing your toe forward, keeping your chest up and your shoulders back. So as you lean forward, you extend that hip, you're isolating or focusing on the downward quad. This is the alternating straight leg raise. As you can see, Marty is starting in the up position. I start in the down position. You want to keep your hands at your side. In my case, you're going to have your hands at your side, elevating your legs one at a time, making sure to keep your toes pointed towards the ceiling and trying to increase your range of motion with each repetition. In Marty's case, you're going to start with them elevated and lower, making sure that you alternate and stabilize as you lower that foot to the ground. Key points are to make sure that you keep your toes pointed towards the ceiling and keep your core activated, making sure that you breathe through the entire range of motion. The next one is the calf raise. You're going to put your body into what I call a TP position, making sure that you can touch your heel on the ground. You're going to raise and push through your toes, elevating your heel as high as you can. Once you lower your heel to the ground, trying to touch it, and then pulling on your toe. That key point is pulling on that toe to get the stretch through your Achilles tendon in your calf. Do about 3 to 5 reps and then switch legs. For the mountain climber, you're going to start in a modified push-up position. And the key point here is to pull your knees as close to your chest as possible while trying to keep the bounce out of your hips. Here, I'm doing it slower, more deliberate, and Marty's doing it more dynamic. You're going to start by touching your toes, slowly walking your hands out. I walk my hands out to a push-up position. Marty is walking out to a more overhead position. That increases more of the strain or work on your core. Once you're extended out, then you bring your toes in real small steps, moving by the ankles, keeping your knees straight. Making sure with each rep you go all the way down, walk all the way out, and then slowly bringing your feet in, again walking at the ankles. Making sure you take a deep breath, not only when you go to touch your toes, but when you stand up. The goblet squat. It's designed to increase your hip mobility. The reason we're starting with our hands together is to try to get that proper starting position so that our chest is up and our back is straight. As we sit down into our hips, we're pulling ourselves down, trying to create that hip mobility. Making sure that you sit on your heels. As you can see in Marty, he's actually moving side to side. So as you go down into the squat, you want to push into your knees and move from side to side. As you sit down, make sure you keep that chest up, your back straight, sitting into each hip, increasing that hip mobility. Sumo squat. What you're going to do is you're going to squat down, putting your hands underneath your toes, making sure to keep your back straight. In the case of Marty, he has a wider stance. Mine is narrower. As you stand up, you want to try to keep that back straight. As soon as you feel that back start to round out, you want to come back down. In the case you see me right here, my back is a little rounded. That's because I'm showing you what not to do. In Marty's case, he is keeping his straight through the entire range of motion. Okay, the lateral squat. Start with your feet shoulder width apart. Step out to the side, making sure to sit back into the hip. You want to make sure that you keep that knee behind the toe as you sit into that hip, making sure to keep your back straight the entire time. Once you go to the other side, then step and do the equal amount of reps on both sides. Next stretch is the backwards lunge. You want to step back, keeping your front knee at 90 degrees and getting your back leg as close to 90 degrees as you can. Here, I'm just doing the backward lunge. Marty's doing a modified rotation. In this next one, as we step back, I'm doing the modified rotation, and Marty is doing the lunge with a reach, and he's reaching back over his head. Elbow to instep. This is probably one of the best daily stretches you can do. It works many of the muscles in the body, and it can be done both statically, in this case where you're not really moving through the entire range of motion, and dynamically. You're going to step forward, putting your opposite arm on the ground, then trying to take that elbow and put it into your arch. Sitting back, straightening the front leg, pulling your toes towards your chest, and then dropping your hips into a lunge position and pushing back. Doing the same thing on the other side, making sure that that elbow goes down into the arch, really pushing into those hips. As you sit back, you want to keep that front leg and back leg straight, then again, dropping into the lunge position and pushing back. Some of the key points when you do this is to make sure and really try to sink that elbow into the arch. Then making sure that you pull or dorsiflex that toe towards your chest. That's going to give you a good stretch in your calf. On this next one, we're going to do the stretch, and we're going to do it dynamically. You're going to go through the same motion, except for this time, you're going to propel yourself forward and then move into the next step. This can be done if you have the space of an app room or a large day room versus the previous one where you're just moving forward and backwards. The inverted hamstring is designed to give you single hip mobility. Here we have Marty increasing his range of motion, but also demonstrating one of the common mistakes is people lean forward too much and bend at the waist and not at the hip. Here you're going to see him lean forward and should demonstrate that again, The next one, Marty will show how you keep that up and lead with the hip. You should only go forward as far as the hip allows you to do. Bend the front knee a little bit if you have to help with that mobility of that hamstring, making sure that you keep the back is straight and is in line with the heel. The shoulder circles are designed to warm up the muscles of the upper body, including the chest, the traps, the deltoids, and the scapula. And all you're trying to do is just, as you roll your shoulders, trying to increase the motion as much as you can. What I'm showing here is almost an exaggeration of that circle. Arm circles is the next progression from the shoulder circles, and you can see this is more dynamic, and your range of motion within the shoulder is more dynamic and a bigger range. You're going to go backwards and then forward. You're going to start small, slowly increasing the size of your circles. Arm paddles are designed to increase the range of motion and continue the warm up of the shoulders. Keep your palms forward, the back of your hands towards the back, and just go ahead and rotate them up and down. The next group of exercises is called the X, T's, W's, and L's, and it's a progression. It's designed to add stability into your shoulder girdle, and each exercise has a specific part of the shoulder it's working. The first exercise is an X. We're going to pull our traps down and pull our scaps back, and then put our hands over our head into an X motion. The next one is a T. Again, we're pulling our traps down, pulling our scapula back, and then moving our thumbs out to the side. The key piece here is to make sure that you keep those thumbs out so that it gives you that movement. The next one is going to be a W. We're pulling the shoulders down, or the traps. We have that scapular retraction, and then drive our elbows towards the back, pushing our chest up. Making sure that our thumbs are pointed in. The next one is an L. It's a progression of the W. So you do the same part, pull your traps down, pull your scapula back. You have your thumbs in, and then pull your elbows back, and then rotate up. The key piece here, like I said, it's a progression, is making sure to rotate those arms up. Neck circles. Anytime you rotate the neck, you want to do it cautiously. If you have any pain or any problems with your neck, you don't want to do this. But you're just slowly rolling your neck, trying to stretch the muscles on the opposite side as you roll. You're going to start to the right, starting really slow. And once you get there, then you'll go back to the left. We're going to do the same amount of circles on both sides. Once you've done the circles, then you're going to do more of a stretch. Stretch to the left, stretch to the right. Make sure that you don't use your hand to forcefully pull your neck in any direction.